you mentioned earlier that, tasting this there's some tricks that we, need to bring into it. And one of that is things keeping in mind just allocation, availability. We want to make sure we're getting as many bottles to as many people as possible.
To a very fascinating barrel pick that we're about to have. I'm joined with Will Templin from Total Wine. We're going to be picking a St. Lucian Distilleries Chairman's Reserve, and we've got some really, really rare stuff here. What do you think about this, Will? You ready to taste some rum?
I'm excited. My mouth is prepared, so let's go right in if we can. Go right into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we should point out that this is a St. Lucia's is one of the it to me is one of the hallmark Caribbean areas for making rum, and I'm a big fan of St. Lucian Distillery. In fact, we went there for our honeymoon, and it was when they burned down. So we went there to go check
Wow.
do a tour of the distillery, and you could still see smoke, but they had put the fire out. And this was in 2007, I think, 6 or 7 or something
Wow.
like that. But this rum has always had a special place in my heart because I drank a shitload of it on my honeymoon.
Excellent.
All right. So, what are your thoughts here? Like, let's go ahead and
Well,
talk
we've got
about what we
yeah,
have here.
yeah, we've got four examples of a single cask, and then we have four examples of the small batch. I'm looking at just right away, looking at my notes here. The small batch, just the proof wise, are on the lower level. So I guess from my perspective, we start on the small batch because it's on the lower proof side, and then work our way up uh, to the single casts that are really high up there. Does that fit kind of what you're thinking?
Well, I can go either way, but that works for me. So we're going to start with the John Doerr 2011, a 9 year, and that
Okay.
is on my side. That is Glass A.
Okay.
And we're picking one small batch and we're picking one single barrel. Is that correct?
Yeah, let's do that.
Or is this just, or are we picking all of them? The answer is yes. We're picking all of
Yeah.
them.
Let's do it. Let's taste through the small batch and the single cast, and let's pick our favorite on each side.
Woo! And of course, rum, being this base being molasses, to me, I always get so excited when I smell that base in there because it tells me, that the distillation process didn't just completely wipe out, the molasses aromatic properties. Because
Hmm.
molasses can be so beautiful, so fruity, so elegant, so sweet. Or, depending on the quality of the molasses, it can smell like just kind of like burnt something burnt, or it could smell
Hmm.
like nothing, depending on how
Yeah.
they distilled it. But this is a brand in Chairman's Reserve that they don't add anything after the fact, so there's no flavoring add to this. This is distillate and 9 year old rum. Here we go. I'm getting a lot of that molasses, a lot of that beautiful kind of like funkiness that you would get in
Yeah.
molasses and some sweetness. Of course, our nosing experiences might be a little different here. You've got a taller nose to get to there. I'm in a
Yeah.
Glencairn.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I For some reason I tend to, when I go through these, I stick with my wine glass. I don't know why. It's obviously, Riedel comes out with some nice glassware for different spirit tastings, but I always go back to the wine glass for some reason.
Well, that was that's a quite a splendid one. A lot of apricot in there for me. A lot of peach, a lot of fruit.
A lot of fruit. I was gonna say a lot of fruit.
And of course, we should point out that this is a brandy cask,
Yes.
and so a brandy cask is going to have a lot more of those, kind of fruity, um, estery type of
Esters.
flavors.
Yep. Exactly. And I was thinking, I can see that it's brandy here, but if I was doing this blind, I would say that barrel's definitely going to have some wine component.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But I don't know. I don't know if this is the representation that I want to hand over to somebody like right away. So this is excellent. I like it a lot, but I also feel like that fruit note is kind of like overpowering of some of it.
right.
It's not balanced for me, right? It's like it's a fruit bomb, and if you like a fruit bomb, this is your rum. But if you want to be something a little bit more balanced, a little bit more complicated, I think we've yet to find it. I don't think
I,
there's in
I'm,
that
I'm,
glass.
I'm looking on this one. I'm looking for a little bit more integration with everything, and it's not there for me.
So now let us go to the John Doerr, the 14-year-old, a coffee 2006. And when they say coffee, we're talking about the still, not like adding coffee beans or something. So, I have to tell you, Tim, it does not matter at what point we are at, and when we are talking to someone that is a high level spirits enthusiast. I have always been amazed that people they will see coffee on the label and they will assume it's a connection to coffee, and it's not a. This happened not too long ago with one of my classes. They're saying like, yeah, I really like the coffee that they use in their whiskey in Japan,
Yeah, like the
and
Nika
exactly.
coffee.
And I was
Yep.
like, what are you talking about? And then they explained, and I was like, oh, well, it's actually the still.
Hmm.
But that's why we're here. We're here to educate.
Educate, exactly.
Not here to judge.
Exactly. And yeah, I've done my rounds of education on that as well, being in the stores, especially specifically with the Nika.
Okay. So this is ex bourbon barrels.
Hmm.
I tell you what. I mean, it's got kind of a bourbony nose,
It
caramel,
does.
vanilla.
A very appealing nose. Just very, yeah, invites you in with that sweetness.
Mm. Holy shitballs. 14-year-old liquid butter on your palate right there. Woo!
That's tasty.
That is delicious.
Yep.
That is complicated.
Yes. The flavors lingering on my palate, and I'm still tasting all of these
Yeah.
different nuances of the.
I mean,
Um,
we're talking brown sugar, butterscotch. There's a little bit of like a Jamaican jerk spice in there,
okay.
some allspiciness. This is a really really beautiful expression, and I'm curious to learn what his batching process was on the small batch, because it's almost perfect. This is the perfect
Hmm.
this is the perfect rum for the bourbon drinker. Absolutely perfect.
That's very nice.
I do like that one a lot, and of course that's the 14-year-old
Yep.
small batch rum. But I will say that whatever we pick here will be available at Total Wine later on. How will people be able to get that? Is it in store? Is it an online buy?
So it's going to be through pre-sale. Once we kind of determine which style and item we're going to go for, we're going to work with our team and put it out in the offer, and it's going to be available pre-sale through online concierge website.
Okay. And the people who can get on the concierge website,
Hmm.
are they like pre-selected
No, anyone can sign up. Basically, it's the website concierge.totalwine.com. So we're associated with Total Wine, and we work with pre-sales. We started out with small with Bordeaux Futures, and we've expanded to our weekly offers. And originally we're just doing wine, and now we're doing spirits. And so we usually have one or two spirit items a week that we feature. And the last couple of years, we've been getting into these private selection casks. Looking small batch, single cask varieties, and it's been very popular. So anyone can sign up.
Oh, that's smart. I like that.
Yep.
And especially now with the enthusiasm towards spirits. But
Hmm.
I will say this one here.
Yep.
It's gonna take a lot for the other two to defeat this for my palate today. And I hate to say that going in, but we still have to taste. We can't just kind of rest on our laurels here.
Correct.
That's our job. We have to taste and decide. And it's actually, people think it's all fun and games and everything, but it is actually a hard job to make this decision as we go to the 15-year-old, the Vendome 2005. Now, this is in a port cask. This has been in a port cask since 2008. So
Wow.
that's a long time.
Look at that color. I'm just noticing the color difference between
Good
this and the first
Lord.
two.
Also, look at the look, seriously, look at that color, folks.
Hmm.
That is dadgum. That is dark. Wow. This actually smells like Portugal to me, like walking into a
Mm.
warehouse and a port warehouse
Mm, hmm.
and those
Mm.
blending houses there in Porto.
Wow. On the palate, lot of wood tannins. Mm. That's a big boy.
Wow. That's definitely delivering the spice. Woo. But I'll say this, going into it, I was expecting those big kind of like jammy notes that you would get from port.
From port. Hmm.
Some of the almondy notes, some of the black currant, maybe some apricot. I didn't really get much of that. I got some hints
No.
of notes, but I really truly feel like that barrel kind of ameliorated the rum. Like I got I
Yep.
got I got more rum notes in here, and I think what that barrel did was draw out a lot of the spice from the
Hmm.
wood.
Yep. Yep.
Now that is one where, I mean, in a blind taste off, I mean that could be a best in show real easily, because it's going to stand out after you've had a
So in your
hundred.
face.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's going to stand out. Um, and I think we have a competitor to what I thought was going to be our head-to-head our straight-up winner. But so we basically 2 out of 3, I think, are home runs for our palates. Is that about right?
Hmm. Yeah. And I'm not going to say which one I'm leaning towards right now. I'll wait for you, but I do, of the two that we've identified. Um, I think I'm leaning towards one over the other,
Hmm.
but I'll hold back. I'll hold
Well,
back.
I'm still undecided as we go to our last one. This is going to be a 9-year sugar cane. So this is the John Doerr. Now that's all I have here. Is I just says sugarcane 2011. Wild yeast, 5-day fermentation. That gets me excited. That always gets me excited. 5-day fermentation, wild yeast. Now let's see. Let me pour it here. I had a little bit of a pouring mishap over here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I have paper towels, but I don't think I can
You
send that
can't bring them over here. I have no
through the
paper towels
camera.
near me. Yeah. Fortunately, the spillage did not get on my computer. That is the one thing that I live in fear of, is that I pour some bourbon in like a computer port or something, and and I fry a microphone or whatever.
I've I'll just say that I've had experience with wine, and I didn't fry a microphone. I fried a whole computer. So
Ooh, wow.
yeah, I learned my lesson the hard way. So I keep the tasting what I'm tasting distance from my computer.
In a perfect world, we taste away from the electronics, but
Yes.
we do not live in a perfect world.
No.
All right, Glass D for me. I mean, it is that nose is kind of jumping on out of the glass with some clove, black pepper, some business going on up in there.
That's a little funky.
Oh yeah. If I was tasting this blind, I would stand up and down and scream, "This is from not from St. Lucia."
Mm.
It's got the funk.
Yeah.
Woo! I think your rum enthusiast would probably like this one the most.
Mm. That is way different than everything we've tried.
This
For
is
sure.
this is crazy. Now, we also have like the case counts and all that you would get. Is that the sort of thing that you would look at when you're
Yeah,
making these decisions?
for sure. That's you mentioned earlier that tasting this is it's there's some tricks that we need to bring into it, and one of that is things keeping in mind just allocation, availability. We want to make sure we're getting as many bottles to as many people as possible
Mm-hmm.
with these. So we're taking that into consideration for sure.
So where does the case count that you can get? How does that weigh into like how good it is? Like which one's more important, case count, or you're in love with it?
I think in the end, quality wins out.
Okay.
But if it gets to a point where the case quantity is so minimal and it doesn't even make sense for the offer, then we might have to pass. But then we could work with one of the cool things on our concierge team is we have our client managers. We could pass it off to them. So if they have a small allocation of a really high quality product, we could get it into their hands, and then they can find customers that we have a track record of liking certain things and buying certain things. We can reach out to them and say, hey, I only have X amount of bottles available. Are you interested? So with our email offers, we try to get a little bit more quantity, but that doesn't necessarily mean we shy away from those small quantity batches.
Well, I'll tell you right now that I'm looking at the sheet, and this says there's a case quantity of 0. So
Oh.
I'm wondering if they're playing a trick on us here with the 9-year-old sugarcane 2011 from John Doerr. Is that what your sheet says?
Yeah, I just noticed that. Yes,
So
that's a 0.
does that mean
So
we
when there's
eliminate that
nothing,
one?
well, let me think. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to pass on the 0 quantity.
I mean, as much as I wanted to do this one, because I was starting to be won over here with it, and then I look at the case quantity and it says 0. I was like, well, I think we might have a problem. But
I think we do.
I think wherever that one goes, I feel like that one's the winner for like the staunch rum drinker who is like chasing Foursquare and loves Hampton and like likes kind of like that funkiness to it. I mean, there's this one. It's a 9-year-old wild fermentation. It's just alive. It's jumping with spice and everything. I mean, I was about to have a 3-way taste off and have a discussion over it, But I think now, because we can't get it, which I respect. I respect
Mhm.
that. I understand. It's taken out of consideration.
Yeah.
So D and A are effectively taken out of consideration for me,
Yep.
and I'm going to go into like taste off mode between B and C to provide
That's
my input.
that's always uh, good to go back, and if you narrowed it down, just do a retaste because your palate is changing as you try different ones.
That's absolutely right. Well, I tell you what, B is just more and more explosive with the fruit on the nose. It had that first kind of like nosing experience for me was so caramel and vanilla, and this
Yeah,
go around, it's like so much more fragrant
it seems more bright.
with
It seems brighter,
it's so yeah,
much
it's
brighter.
it's a very different, and it's not necessarily because the rum changed. It's because we've been sipping.
Right.
We're dialed in a little bit more. Going to see the 15-year-old port cask. Now it's been in this port cask since 2008, and a lot of times you see port cask on there and they say it's a finish. I'm like, no, this is not a finish. This is straight up aging in a former port cask. Well, I've made my decision. I'm ready when you are, Will. But I will
I think
say
I made.
I
I
will
think I
say,
made my decision.
I will
Yep,
say this. There's no wrong answer here.
that's correct.
They're both great.
Yep.
All right, so on the count of three, we'll go with we'll go with what. So it's either B, which is the coffee 2006, a 14-year-old, or C, the Vendome 15-year-old. One, two, three. C.
B.
B.
uh,
So you're here in a twist of events here. You're going with the ex bourbon barrel that I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I'm picking it right now.
hmm
And then I came back to the port cast, and it's just so alive and so just blossoming all over the palate. It's so
hmm
incredible. Um, and I love port too. And when you start tasting
Yeah.
hints of those ports in there with that molasses, it's gorgeous.
I agree. Both are great. And I went to B for the main reason of it has tasting it the second time, it had that brightness and it had more elegance. I really liked the elegant style and the bourbon how it was well integrated. Whereas for me, when I tried the port again, it's still, as you say, it's going to get the double gold. It's going to get best in show. It's just full flavor, lots of flavors in your face. And when I'm thinking about what our offers have done before in the past, what our customer feedback, I'm thinking this people like elegance, I
Mm.
think, and that was my initial reaction, but that's only my what I'm thinking
Well, like I
going into
said, like I said, there was no wrong answer here.
yeah.
This is. I think it's a. I think that B is definitely more marketable for you in
hmm
terms of like who would want it. I think C is definitely leans more toward that rum audience,
yeah.
and B is going to be, you know, if somebody missed out on a bottle of George T. Stagg and they got B instead, I think they'd be happy.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. Let's go ahead. I'll go ahead and move my vote over to B to make it unanimous and just kind of call it there. It's not one where I can really argue against it. It's beautiful. It's complex. It's got so
hmm
many of the notes that you want. So,
hmm
congratulations to the I'm sorry, the 14-year-old, and for winning. our small batch here.
Very nice.
That's awesome, man.
This is fun. This is really fun.
Oh yeah. And now, of course, I know what you're going to do. You're going to get both of them, aren't you? Is that how you're going to roll? Am I wrong?
We'll find out. I will have to reconvene with my associates.
Oh man, I screwed up. The one that we eliminated, I actually tasted the upcoming number 4. Oops. All right, so it's still in play since I didn't actually taste it. So all right, here we go. There we go. So I gave the wrong tasting notes for D. I gave the tasting note for D. I was actually tasting the single barrel version. So,
Gotcha.
but hey, I caught it just in time, and it doesn't matter anyway because there's no cases available. So
right.
So let's go to the 21-year-old, a 1999 ex-bourbon.
Number 1
barrel.
for you, right?
Number one.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens from time to time. I get it. I'll get it mixed up. You know, when you're talking and tasting, it's always a little amazing of like how you can be focused on what you're talking about and you're looking in the camera or something, and you just kind of get something wrong. It happens for the best of us.
But now we're on number 1, John Doerr, 1999, 21-year ex-bourbon.
That's it. I'm actually just finishing up all the pouring of them.
Okay.
Get that on up in here. Now this will be the single barrel.
Yep.
"21 years old.
Smells really good.
I was in at Oklahoma State when this was in the barrel, just got put in the barrel. A sophomore, had a gleam in my eye, a giddy up in my step. I had abs. I could run a 6-minute. I could run a 6-minute mile. Those days.
I don't think I was ever able to run a 6-minute mile.
Hello.
Wow. That's tasty.
Really nice.
And for being such a high proof, I think this is, I mean, right off the bat, I just think it's so well integrated. The alcohol is not, hitting me too hard at all, considering it's at what, 67.6% alcohol.
Yeah, I mean it's banging some heat there, but it's kind of focusing on that middle of the palate, and honestly, there's a lot of savory notes here that I wouldn't normally associate with rum, and but also those beautiful kind of like complex earthy tones, kind of like underneath, and
I'm getting some leather cigar box.
Yeah. There's a lot of really great qualities to this. Really like it. All right, so glass 2 is going to be our 15-year-old. Vendome 2005.
Whew.
Who's got the funk? Ooh, who's got the funk? That is really good. I think if I'm looking at the two of these, this one hits my palate very differently
Yes.
than the first one. The first one was middle palate and kind of worked itself out. This one kind of has a drying effect, like it kind of gets on my
Yes.
palate and it dries it out a little bit.
Yep.
But I'm going to drink it. That's the beautiful thing about this, Will, is that when we turn the cameras off and it's all said and done, we got these little samples to ourselves, and we can have our friends over for a cigar and keep on sipping on this. Some good stuff.
Well, I actually, what I do with a lot of these samples, we take it back to the team because we want to make sure everyone on our team is trying and going through these to make sure that they're continuing their education of their palate, and then also they want to be able to speak with customers. We deal with customer calls and emails every day, and we want to make sure that when we put a product out there, we can speak to the product. So
yeah,
that's what we do. That's what we do here. It's just continuing education for us. Every single day we're learning something new.
That is true. So do you have friends who are always calling you trying to get stuff?
There was a point where it seemed like they were, and now when I've kind of batted them away enough, they just accept it if I have something for them rather than them calling me.
So they know better. They've
learned their lesson. Yes.
No means no. Class 3. The Vendome 2005 15-year-old ex-bourbon, and don't have much of a separation between this one and the previous one, also a 15-year-old. They're both distilled in 2005. However, this has 3 more cases available. So I'm sure Tim is like eyeing that, like, 3 more cases. Well, hello.
So even though this is aged the same amount as the previous one, I'm still getting more fruit characteristic.
Yeah.
Which for me, I don't know. I kind of like that balance, that it's not just wood and spice. I'm getting more those fruity esters that that the rum is offering.
Yeah, this is I would say I would put this in that kind of a complex conversation. Like it's it's hitting all points of the palate and kind of sliding in underneath the tongue and kind of tickling it underneath there, kind of like something. It's very vibrant. I really like that. It has a lot going on.
I'm getting like caramelized banana, like just so it's really tasty. This one's standing out.
Yeah, 3 can be dangerous for me on a personal note because I may not want to put it down later. It's really quite something. I really like that flavor. So we go to the final one, D. Vendome Sugarcane 2011, a 9-year-old ex-bourbon barrels. And here's the kicker, 40 cases. Woo. It's interesting. It's interesting to taste that rum right after one that was so complicated.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't want to say this falls flat, but it's like all of its flaws are shining
really
like
out.
Shining like a big giant pimple in the wind. It's a really really, to me, is the easiest one to eliminate here because it doesn't have. It has that one big note and then some little stuff after that, but it's just not. It's not in the same league, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's too bad.
Was that yours? Was that your favorite?
No, no,
Oh, okay.
no. I'm in total agreement with you of these four single casks. That one just falls flat. But it could be, as you said, what we tasted prior was so good. We're it's hard to judge it on its own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in fairness, we are choosing a rum out of this flight, and if you can't stand up to your competitors, you're out.
Yep.
So let's go back to these three and kind of make a decision here. Now, will you buy more than one of these, or will you just pick one?
I think right now we wanted to pick one single cask. That was
Okay.
kind of the idea. But if we had to potentially expand and do more than one, we should always just I think we should rank these final three.
All right, let's do it.
Come up with a nice ranking. So I'm going to revisit each one again.
Sounds good. So you want to do like an 80-point or 100-point scale? I know you
Sure.
I know you like those at Total Wine. You see those ratings all over the place in there.
Customers like them too.
That's absolutely true. What I would love is if people like looked at the so see the ranking and then they would read the tasting notes, and it never works that way. They just read the ranking.
That's always the hope because there's a lot of wine and spirits that get let's say lower scores, but you read the notes and the notes sound beautiful.
Yeah.
And just because it got a low score doesn't mean it's not a good product. You got to read those tasting notes, and everyone's palate is different, and people scoring you might not necessarily align with their scores.
Exactly.
Because you're your own person. You're unique, and you've gone through different experiences, and you like certain things. So I always try to educate folks that scores aren't everything. Definitely read the tasting notes. Definitely ask, talk and compare. And through experience, you'll start finding what you agree with and what you don't agree with.
So, number one, I got a really wacky root beer and like cherry cola note.
Yep.
I'm like, that is nuts. Two's got a bit of a medicinal cough syrup to me all of a sudden. I'm gonna go back in and taste.
Definitely bitter on the back end on the number two. You get a lot of that wood integration, wood tannin. All right, so tasting these again, retasting these, I'm knocking out one of three. I'm knocking out one. Okay. From my perspective. I'll wait for you to taste.
I have scored them. And we've got a tie on my scores, which would knock out one of them. I would knock out number two.
I would knock out number two. Yep.
It just, and as I'm scoring it, I mean, I've got it as an 89 to 91. It's got a lot of really nice stuff going on there, but at the end of the day, there is a bitterness there, a bitterness component. You mentioned the wood tannins. I think those is when you're having, when you're having the rum by itself, and it's really enjoyable, it's really fantastic. But when you're comparing it to other rums in a flight, you have to taste them and ask yourself, what does this one have that the others do not? And that bitterness, that tannin kind of structure there, that kind of like jumped out to me. And to me, 1 and 3 are clearly the leaders going into the clubhouse. They're really, really different and both very, very beautiful.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm going to go back and retry 1 and 2 or 1 and 3 as they face off for me.
And no wrong winner here, or no wrong answer here. And for the viewers and listeners at home, number 1 is the John Doerr 1999 21-year-old ex-bourbon cask. And you'll be happy to know there are 43 cases available on that one, Will.
Yep.
Number 3 is the Vendome 2005 15-year-old ex-bourbon barrels, 39 cases. So very close in case counts. Number 1 is 67.6 ABV. Number 3 is 60.1 ABV. So also very close on case counts. Now, the bottle cost is drastically different here. Now, is that your bottle cost, or is that the suggested SRP?
I think that's the bottle cost.
For you?
Yep, for us.
Okay. So basically, glass number 1 is twice as expensive as glass number 3.
Yes.
I mean, that alone just kind of makes me want to vote for 3 due to its amazing, ability to get in the trenches and battle here. Because I mean, let me tell you something. It's punching above its weight if we're looking at it from a dollar perspective.
Yep.
And I know those are decisions that you have to make. Thank God I don't have to. I just pick what I think is best and has the most prolific flavor profiles. But you're looking at it everything for you is a spreadsheet, and someone's judging you by profits and losses and stuff, and where's it gonna, how's it gonna move and all. Those are all the things that thank God I don't have to worry about, because it sounds very stressful, even just coming off my lips. Well, I'm ready to vote.
So am I. I think I am. Give me one more second.
And I'm making mine purely on flavor profile, nose, finish, and the fact that I kind of want to keep sipping it. It's like a really beautiful rum. Both of these are beautiful, but I'm upgrading. I will give you my scores across the board, but I am in love with number 1.
Yes.
Number 1 is just absolutely gorgeous.
Yes. I agree.
It's just.
But as you were saying, 3 is doing a lot, for its price point. It's really good as well. But one, I think by far for me is I'm in agreement with you. Is taking this.
Yeah, if you take price out of it, number 1 all day long. And
Yeah.
when you weigh in price and availability, actually availability, one's going to have an edge on three, but when you look at if you have to make a decision on price, I don't know if you don't take three, but if we're just looking at quality alone, I scored it a 96,
Nice.
and I would score the number three a 94. And when you take a look at like how much a single digit point in the 90s means, to a reviewer,
Hmm.
like one to 90 is basically is a kind of a, it's like a lot can fall in between there, but once you get to from 90 to like 91, that 1 point is a big jump, or to 92, that's a big jump, so uh to say that it's 2 points better than three, you could say it's you know it's a lot of difference, and like it's one is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful rum.
Hmm.
That's the best thing I can say about it.
Yep. That's great.
So when will people be able to go find these on Total Wine?
Well, the process does take a little time. So now that we've tasted together here,
Mm-hmm.
I give my feedback. My partner Tim, um, he's on the concierge team as well. He's tasted through these two, so we collect our notes. Then we go back to our management team and we say, hey, let's do this one, or which ones, how many can we do? We start building out the offer, so we get more into those particulars with cost and allocation and what we have available, where we can send it, and then we start getting kind of the assets. So because these are going to be picks, we're going to be able to design bottles and
Mm-hmm.
labels and kind of have our co-branding with that. And so then once we have those assets in place, I mean, I would say off the top of my head, this could be sometime in fall, late summer, early fall, that
Oh,
we
great.
start putting this all together as an offer. And then from there, it just comes down to distribution. How fast can they get the bottles in the states, and then from the states, distribution to the stores for delivery. So this it's a nice process, but I would say the offer, like I said, late summer, early fall.
No, that's awesome. And so in the meantime, people can go to concierge.totalwine.com for more information.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, listen, Will, we did some hard work here, but somebody's got to
Yes.
do it. Am I right?
Exactly. Very, very fortunate that I can always take part of this. This is always fun.
So I look forward to getting a bottle of this and sipping it next to the fire with some friends and a cigar, and hopefully, Will, we can do that together one of these days as well.
That'd be awesome.
When things kind of relax a little bit with COVID, but it was really great
Yep.
hanging out with you and tasting some rum.
Awesome. Yeah, it was very fun to be with you and doing this. This is one of the fun things of the job. You get to try things and get those things to customers and say, hey, this we got something really special for you.
Awesome. Well, Will, be safe out there, and that's going to do it for this barrel tasting episode here on the Fred Minnick Show. Everybody, make sure remember to be safe out there. No licking handrails, no licking trash cans, and vodka sucks unless it's being used for hand sanitizer. Cheers, everybody.